Hello and welcome. I'm so excited for this little bit of time here that we've created out of our schedules so that we can talk about some of the particulars of the Freedom Program. Many of you, well over 150 people have watched the masterclass in addition to the people that were live with me for the masterclass. And so I'm just loving that this information is finding a lot of people. And now, the purpose of our time together this evening is for me to field the questions that have come up from people who have either watched the masterclass, and even a few questions from people who say, I haven't found time to watch the masterclass, but I had these questions. And it's an important conversation because I really want for anybody that has any interest, anybody who's looking for a way that they can start to work on these challenges and really find the answer for them. So I'm excited to share that. And if you are somebody who's going to be watching this replay, please know two things. Number one, your questions, if you have more questions as a follow-up to this recording, or something else occurs to you, please know that I am available to answer your questions by email. And I'm also opened up the calendar for a few spots. If you're somebody who's, yes, I'm pretty serious about this. I'm thinking that this is a good fit for me, and I just want to make sure and ask these few questions. Then I do have space for some of those discovery calls on the calendar, and I will put those links in the replay email so that you guys have all of that and have access to it. So let me just start with a couple of minutes of describing again kind of the inclusions for the program. The program, I'm going to describe it two ways because there's two ways that you can now take the program. The first way is, I would say, my preferred way, because I have loved seeing how the groups come together and how people support each other every single day in the group that's running right now, that's going to be wrapping up a little bit later this month. Every single day, the ladies say, "Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you said that. I so appreciate everything that was said here today." Or, "Man, can I relate?" Or, "You just put into words what I've been feeling and couldn't articulate." And so I really love the group space to take the program. And that's kind of the first way that I'll describe. So the program itself is 16 modules. And these modules kind of take you through the pieces of what it takes to really change your relationship with food, take your power back, and start to see yourself as an empowered eater, somebody that makes conscious choices instead of feeling like you're on autopilot all the time. And the modules cover and are based on the three keys that I shared with you in the masterclass. So if you haven't had a chance yet to watch the masterclass, I'm going to include the link in the replay so that you can do that, because that's going to give you a really good sense of what's that material like. Right? We're going to go over the nervous system. We're going to talk about how it relates, how it affects your relationship with food, how past traumas and just everyday stress has played into forming your relationship with food. We're going to talk about tools that you can use in order to start to work powerfully with your nervous system. That's actually the bulk of the first part of the program, because we need that foundation. We need a well-regulated nervous system. If you're in overwhelm, feeling stress out of your mind and having little capacity, there's nothing I can teach you, right? You're already full. There's nothing that I can get to you. So we're going to start with that foundation of really feeding your nervous system and getting you in a place where you have the capacity to learn the rest of the things, to learn how to work with habituated pathways, to be able to be present and conscious and intentional in the things that you do, especially the food that you're deciding to nourish your body with. If you're going to be able to work on old thought patterns that are limiting you. You have to have some capacity to do that. If you're going to start to feel emotions that used to shut you down, that you used to feel like you needed to run from them, you're going to need some capacity. So we start with that strong foundation of the nervous system, and then I can give you the stuff that will actually make a big difference. And this is something that I've learned over many years of working with people. I mentioned in the master class, I had these two groups of people. I had the group of people who were able to use the tools that I was giving them, and they were having great success. Their lives were changing. They were able to take their power back. And then I had a group of people who couldn't get themselves to implement the tools. It was just too hard. They wanted to, but they would just show up over and over. I know what to do. I'm just not doing it. And so that's why I include now with all of the work that I do with people. That's why I took a deep dive and became a somatic practitioner so that I would have the tools and be able to help people regulate their nervous system so that then they could go on and use the tools that would then help them be successful. So these modules are broken up into 16 separate, distinct modules. Every module has a series of training videos and integration work because we know full well that knowledge is wonderful, knowledge is essential, and knowledge by itself will not change you at all, right? I'm sure you can relate to that when you think about, oh, I read this book or I did this program or something along those lines, and then a month later you're like, what? Nothing changed for me, right? I learned all these valuable things and I know they were good things, but nothing changed. It's really the integration. It's bringing that work into your life, into your everyday, into your challenges, into your struggles that will produce the change. So we have the training videos and the integration throughout all 16 modules. There's also a lot of bonus material, and I'm always adding. Even this month, I added a video on how to access and stay connected to your higher self. I added a video on prioritizing protein. And so there's just always extra stuff kind of going in there. If I come across something or the people in the group are letting me know that they need it, that would be valuable, then that's being added. But right now, there's so many different types of bonuses, meditations, tracking sheets, cheat sheets, the kinds of things that really help you integrate the material into your day to day. The one of the things that I love about the program the most is the support piece, because we know from all the research that people who are supported and have guidance, accountability, and that sense of community do better. They are successful far more of the time. And so the first way that you can take the course is by participating in the group sessions. The group sessions take place twice a week. And those sessions are Mondays and Thursdays. So that kind of breaks up. It's about the same amount of time in between each at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard. And in this group, as I was saying and describing before, these women are encouraging each other. They're sharing with each other in a way that it is really powerful. And they're making connections with each other. And, their own feedback to each other is really incredibly valuable. So that is the knowledge, the integration, and the support that you need in order to be able to finally make a real change, right? I'm not going to teach you a bunch of tools that are useless to you, or tools that you're not going to be able to implement. And so that's the first way that you can take the program. The second way that you can take the program is to go through the program, have online access to all the same modules, all the same integration work, but without the group meetings. Because I realize that for some people, the group may not be the right fit, right? It's not usually the case. And even people who are a little bit shy or a little bit not so much into group settings, they've told me that it has been immensely valuable. So I wouldn't encourage you, if If the only reason is you're not a group person, we could chat about that, whether or not that'd be something that could suit you, because there is a lot of value there. But for some people, truly, it's not. Or you say, there's no way I can't meet a single one of those times. And or I want to go slower. I know that I'm just a slower learner, or that I just really need to take my time with this. And so I want to be able to do it on my time, on my timetable. And that's now available to you month to month. And the thing I would say about that is I'm offering reduced price one-on-one sessions for all the people that are in that group, because I still want you to have support. And in addition, if there's a question that you have about the course itself, you have access to me through email to ask me those questions. If it's something that we were going to dive into and really put some time and effort into understanding, that's not going to serve you to do a little email questionnaire. We're going to set up a time to meet, but there is that support available to you, even if you're not involved in the group. So you'd see, when you go to the information page, you would see both of these options there. And you can choose, of course, which option would be most beneficial for you, which one would fit you the best. And again, I have spots open to help you make that decision. If you're somebody who says, yeah, I can't really decide, I'm not sure which way would be better for me. So that's some of the parameters. And I did receive a number of questions about that came in during the week. Hey, I can't make the time of the meeting, but I have this question. And so I wanted to field those questions, and just um, maybe you're having, some of the same types of questions, and I can just hit on them. The first question is, what if I can't come to all the meetings? So this person's considering the group option, but knows that, there's a good chance that she will miss some meetings. And that is absolutely fine. And as a matter of fact, I've had people in other parts of the world who have taken the program just relying on the replay, because every meeting is recorded. It's uploaded in your course only for the members that are in your group. Those are the only people who have access to the recordings, but they're all there for you. They're uploaded within 24 hours. So if you do miss a meeting, you can still participate by watching the recording. And if you know ahead of time and you have a question or something that you want addressed, you can send that to me and I will address that for the recording. You see, these groups, I keep them very small, because if I'm really going to be able to be effective in supporting you, I have to know you. I have to have time. We have to be able to communicate about what's going on for you, how your integration work is going, what stumbling blocks you may come across. And so our meetings, our groups are fairly small. I've been involved in a lot of wonderful online classes, that were 100, 500 people. And that's just not the atmosphere at all in which I feel like I can offer the real support that's needed. So the groups are kept very small. And so, when you were watching the recording or sending in your question, it's easy for me to get that answered for you. So missing a meeting, I usually tell people, if you think you're going to be able to meet, 75% of the meetings, no problem at all. It's just not a huge problem. Another question says, I just started a new job. I don't know what the true time commitment will be. Is this something that I should take on now, or wait until I have a better grasp on how much work is going to be involved? And with respect to this question, always get questions that are similar to this, right? It's I feel limited in my time, and I'm afraid that this program is going to be more time than I have to spend. So let me say a few things. The first thing is, this program was designed for people who are in overwhelm, who are stressed, who don't have a lot of capacity to give. And I know and that's one of the reasons why food is coming into play, is because it's the one thing that's quick and easy for me to give myself when I don't have, space and time, or just don't have the capacity in other ways, aside from time to give to anything. And so it really is designed for people who can't devote their life to this work. I realize you have lives. I realize that your capacity may be low. And so every aspect of the program was designed in very bite-sized pieces. From week to week, I'm trying to focus on just one thing so that you know exactly what you should be focusing on for that week and the tools that will help you do that. And so I always tell people, there never is a right time. There's never going to be a perfect time. And as a matter of fact, when you're going through, whether it's, last time I had the question, I am going through a divorce and I'm feeling very raw and emotional, and I don't know that I have the capability to get through. And actually, it's the time before. And this person ended up saying, you know what? Yes, I think that having this support and doing this work for myself is actually something that's going to help me get through this intense time. And that's what I find for people, is that this is the perfect time to get some support to be able to navigate something that feels a little bit tricky. Putting it off. I also have people who come, and every time I run the master class and everything, they're there and they're telling themselves, oh yeah, not this time for this reason or that reason. And we're watching their lives go by, um, as they essentially make these excuses why it's not the right time. And I just, again, would reiterate that there's never going to be a right time. And so the right time is when you're tired enough of being in the situation that you're in and feeling like you're ready to commit to yourself. So I don't think that being busy is a reason. As I said, it's designed for busy, overwhelmed people, and having the support could really help you navigate through situations that feel like it's sucking up all of your capacity. Right? We want to teach you how to build your capacity and your resilience to be able to get through these periods in ways that make them feel much more manageable and navigable. Um, let's see. The next one says, I'm in trauma therapy and wondering if this work is compatible. Yeah, so I work with a lot of therapists, and I've worked with a lot of people who have either been in therapy or currently in therapy. And it is, I would say, extremely compatible. A lot of times it's fun because the person will say, oh, I was working on this in therapy, but I didn't have the integration of it. And so now I'm seeing how I can apply this better in my life. I've had a lot of people, come and say they've made, and this is, therapy is wonderful. It has an important place, and I would never say anything otherwise. But I have had a lot of people who come and say, I've been in therapy for 15 years. I've been in therapy since I was 20, or whatever the case is for the individual, and I really didn't make real change. Life was a little easier. I had some tools to manage what was going on, but I didn't have the power to change it. And this work gave me the power to do that. So I think that it's a very good complement to therapies. And I do have a trauma informed background, both in the psychology of trauma and in the physiology of trauma. So what happens to us on a cellular level when we experience trauma. And so having that background, being able to bring it to this work, is something that not only have I been very excited about doing that and seeing the results and how supportive that is. It's just something that I just really, from my own background, just really love being able to add that component, because it has been the missing piece for so many people. The next question says, I've tried so many things in the past: Weight Watchers, Overeaters Anonymous, Bright Line Eating, intuitive eating. Some of them worked for a short time, but all of them failed in the end. I don't want to try something, invest my time, effort, and money into something that won't work again. Yeah, I so get that. There comes a point, and I would say 99% of the people that I work with have a history that's long and challenging and exhausting of trying everything and feeling like they have failed. And really, as I was designing, especially the revised version of this program, it was so important for me to speak to those people and to make sure that they know that whatever they tried in the past, they did not fail, right? That program or that way of seeing their challenges, that's what failed them, right? People, we are not failures. We just haven't been given all the tools that we need. And that's one of the things, I have as a matter of fact, I'll put this in the replay email as well, because I get this kind of question a lot. Because of course, if you've already done these things, why would you sign up for something that was similar to something that you feel like failed you? So I get this question a lot. I created a video that kind of describes some of the differences between freedom and some of those approaches: intuitive eating, bright line eating, some of the more popular things out there, habit changing. And the short answer is, I pull from a lot of those different modalities because they have some very redeeming qualities to them, and do help people on some level. But emotional eating is such a multifaceted beast, right? It's got elements of habit, right? Our habituated brain, the pathways that we establish. It has elements of our thoughts, right? Being able to recognize how our thoughts affect our behavior with food. Um, Certainly our emotions, not knowing what to do with our emotions, not knowing how to cope with them, and instead feeling like, oh, whenever I feel these particular uncomfortable emotions, I need to cope with them. I need to shut them down. I need to distract from them by using food. And very importantly, that piece that I was talking about with the nervous system, because nervous system dysregulation lies at the root of most emotional eating experiences. And so I took all of these things together, right? This is not something that, work with your thoughts, and there's nothing wrong with thought work, right? I included in the program. But when you have it and that's the only piece that you have, then all these other pieces are out there, and you're not making progress in those areas, so you're not making real progress overall. And so the reason, or what I would say is, you've tried so many things in the past. I would say freedom is very different. It's very different in its approach, because I'm going to give you what you need to build your capacity before I give you anything else, right? If you don't have any capacity, it doesn't do any good for me to give you, oh, here's a meal plan to start following, right? That meal plan may be the most incredible thing in the universe for telling you exactly, how you can restore health to your body and end cravings and lose all the weight you want, all of these things. But if you don't have the capacity, right, the tools to be able to implement it, it's useless. If I just give you just that piece of just the habits that I offer in the program, if I were to just give you that, you might have something notably changed, here and there, but you're not going to overcome your challenge. If I just give you the piece on emotions, but without the nervous system, it's not going to work. It really does take all of the pieces, and that's why I brought them all together in this program, and won't do it pieced out. A lot of people say, well, you can't get people, a lot of coaches would tell me, you can't get people to sign up for the whole big thing. You got to give them the pieces, and then, move them along. I say, can't do that. I don't ever want anybody to leave me feeling like, "Ah, I failed again." So it's all the pieces brought together. So the things that are helpful about these different approaches that you might have tried, along with the other things that make this unique, the nervous system work, the emotional resiliency, etc. Um, that's something that, that question I realize is a little bit broader. So I'd love your feedback as to whether or not you feel like, oh, okay, I get that. I see how things are different. So if you feel like you're wanting a little bit more about that, let's get on a call so that I can really completely answer that question and a little bit of back and forth. Um, there's the question about I can't come to the meetings, and I addressed that already. If it's, a handful of meetings, no sweat. If it's this is not a good meeting time for me, I'm not going to be able to make it, then you have the option to sign up for uh program only with the support that you bring in as you can, as is right for you. One thing that I think about myself when I was really, really struggling for decades, my story, I share it a little bit of that in the master class, but I think about myself and I think about how many times I attended a master class or, something where people were sharing information with me, and I would get to this point and I would think, yeah, yeah, I really want this change. I think that there's, something here for me. And then 5 minutes later, the call would end. 5 minutes later, I walk away and I would give myself every excuse in the book why I wasn't going to move forward. The money, the time, I should be able to do this by myself, right? Feeling kind of almost like a failure because I needed help and it wasn't something that I could just achieve through my control and willpower, right? There were always so many excuses that I would use with myself to not take that step, to not commit to myself. And finally, one day I was brave enough to go far enough in the process with someone to get on a discovery call. And she told me something. She was not a heavy salesperson. I tried not to be a heavy salesperson. I don't want anyone I'm not here to talk you into anything. But she told me, she said, don't make the decision as to whether or not to do this work based on the person you are today. Let the person that you know you're becoming make that decision. And that was the most profound thing for me, to think about the person that I was becoming. What would she do? And it was unquestioned uh, that she was ready to make some changes. And that was the first coach that I ever worked with, and have been working with coaches for myself ever since then. It wasn't for eating. It was after that, but it was just such a powerful thing. And I think about, how difficult it can be to step into that place and really fully commit to yourself. And I really admire and am inspired by all of the people who show up there. It's really incredible to me, the human spirit, how we know deep down that we're capable of more, that we can change, right? So one of the things that I always do, or always try to do when I'm opening up enrollment, is I want to reward people who are in that space and are like, oh, I don't know, there's all these reasons telling me no, this isn't going to work, or I should be able to do it myself, or whatever. I want to reward those of you and also make it a little bit easier for you to say yes to yourself and to commit. So right now, anyone that signs up between now and the end of the weekend, after giving everybody a chance to watch this Q&A and stuff, anybody that signs up by midnight on Sunday, I'm going to put in 3 extra one-on-one calls with me in order to help that process, in order for you to say, you know what, um, I'm going to do it. I'm going to rely on the resourcefulness and of my future self, the self that I'm becoming through this process. and let her make the decision. So I just want to give that little incentive in that, and honor anybody who is willing to be brave in that way. So enrollment is open for the group part on the 19th till the 19th. We start on the 19th. So enrollment's open through the 18th of February. So we've got a little over 2 weeks to, for you to get your questions answered, for you to, look into this and make a decision. If you're somebody looking to join the program itself on your own timing, that's going to be open. But I would really encourage you not to let this decision just sit around, right? There's something really powerful when people make a decision for themselves. Things start to change right away. It's just I don't know, a universal law or something. Things start to move once you make that declaration and commit to yourself. Let me see. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anybody's questions here. Yep. Yeah. The one last thing that I'll say about this work is that, what's drawing you here is probably your weight, right? It's probably you're frustrated because you have behaviors of food that don't feel good, and you might have weight, you might have other health problems that are caused by, using food in ways that don't support you. And that's important, right? These things are important. Feeling healthy, feeling good in your body, all of that is incredibly important. But what you really get out of this work, it goes so far beyond just just the weight and just the body. Those are important things. And yes, they change. But you also can't work on your nervous system and work with your limiting thoughts and learn emotional resiliency without the rest of your life changing, without you really stepping into who you are, becoming more authentic, right? It's those are the things that are really needing to be addressed. And so, it never fails that when I talk to people, I'll tell them, it's not really about the food. And they'll say, no, yeah, no, it is. It's about the food. And then somewhere in their journey, whether that's, the second month or a little bit further on, they'll say to me, you told me that it wasn't about the food and I didn't get it at the time. But now I really can see it. It's not about the food. It's about all the other things in my life. And so this work is so incredibly powerful for creating not only the health and the body and all of that you feel more comfortable but really your life. And that's something that I really want you to think about and to take away from this session tonight, is that, that authenticity, learning how to meet your needs, learning who you are sometimes, is such a beautiful gateway into the rest of your life, into all the things that you want. So yes, absolutely, your weight will change your relationship with food, your patterns with food. Yes, that is the primary focus. But getting there leads us down a really beautiful path of self-discovery and growth. So yeah, wonderful. Any questions here before we wrap up tonight?
Well, I don't have a question, but if you think that it would be helpful, I would share some of my past experience working with you on this topic if you'd like.
Oh, that would be
Like,
so fantastic. It's it's so experiential. It's hard to really describe it in words. And so to have somebody here that has put the time and effort and that's familiar with the curriculum to say, "Hey guys, here's my takeaways." I think that is incredibly important and helpful. So I would appreciate that very much.
okay, well, thank you. I have I have had the opportunity to do the original Freedom Program with Lori, and I have the added wonderful opportunity to be redoing the renewed one that she's offering to you now as well. So, and I'm just a person who has done the Freedom Program with Lori several times, because I just find it very valuable. And Lori, the last commentary that she was just talking about, and saying that it's not about the food. Now, that was I would say that that's probably the main clarification that I have gotten out of the program. Because I joined the program because for me it was about the weight. I was putting on a lot of weight. I was eating a lot. I was it was really getting out of control. And so I came because I wanted to stop eating. I wanted to, stop with the food, behaviors that I was having, and I wanted to lose the weight. And I was attracted to the program because as I began to work with the program, I started understanding that there were all of these other various components. It's very interesting because part of me came into the program because I wanted to lose weight and I wanted to give up the food, but I was also very resistant to give up
Yeah.
the food that gave me so much comfort with all of the challenges that I was experiencing at the time.
Yeah.
So Lori's program presents all these various aspects of life, right? Of life. And so for me, what I was willing to do at the beginning was maybe not give up all my comfort foods, although I wanted to, but there was a resistance. But I was definitely able to deal with the other components that she has in the program, which really were the underlying things that were out of balance that were causing me to eat and then to gain the weight, right? So
Mhm.
when Lori says it's not about the food, that's been my experience. Because when I did her whole comprehensive program and started looking at these other various components of my life, of how I was, my emotions, my habits, the nutrition aspect of it, how was I nourishing my body with the choices of food that I was making,
Yeah.
all of this really was, and then all these alternative ways to support myself, right? All these alternative techniques that can be done to support myself. So that's what I got out of the program because when I started really embracing these other components, then I found that the shift happened on its own, the integration happened on its own automatically within my own healing and my own coming back into balance. And then there was just an experience of not desiring certain types of foods, not desiring to eat in certain patterns and in certain ways, and a desire to eat certain types of food that were making me feel a certain way that I wanted. And and I started noticing like I would eat this food that I found nourishing and enjoyable that I was desiring, and then like I wasn't hungry for several hours. I just didn't have
Yeah.
the need. It was a process and it was really beautiful. And I'll pause there, but that's my experience of the program. Is it really gives you a lifestyle journey for you to really enhance your lifestyle, right? And it's in enhancing that lifestyle that you will come to really integrate various aspects of yourself, including whatever's out of balance. For me, it happened to be the food and the weight and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm just really grateful that I found the program, and I'm just grateful that it worked for me. So thank you, Lori.
Yeah, thank you.
If
And
you have
that's
anything
the
that you want to ask me, I'm more than happy to shed light on anything that you want to direct to me.
Thank you so much. Yes, well, what you're sharing with us is something that, I think pretty much everybody comes to this space feeling like nervous about changing the way they use food. And the way that we always start out the beginning of the program, I say, look, I know that right now, today, food is like your life preserver. You're out in the middle of the ocean and you don't know how to swim and you need a life preserver. So for me to come in, or for you to come in and say, okay, we're done with the life preserver, toss it away. That's it, right? That is an incredibly scary thing to do. And that's why it hasn't worked, right? How many times have you gone on a restrict diet, gone on a detox, done these things where you threw that life preserver away? It doesn't work. We can't take away what we need to survive. And so, what Anna is sharing is what we do is we reverse engineer it. We teach you how to swim, and then you're like, this silly life preserver, go get off me. You're limiting me. I want to swim around and have fun in the ocean, right? We get to the point where you're not thinking about food. Naturally, I'm just making different choices. And that's freedom, right? I have no interest in teaching people how to white knuckle, how to control themselves, how to harness their willpower, because that doesn't work. And it certainly isn't freedom, even if I could teach you that, right? I wouldn't want to, because what kind of life is it where you have to continue to go through and try to deal with triggers every single day? So much better to be able to say, you just keep the life preserver, you keep all of your habits with food, everything. You get to keep it until you feel safe. Right. First, we learn how to hang on to the outside of the life preserver and kick our feet behind. And when that feels really good, that doesn't feel scary anymore, then we might let go with one arm, or we might swim around the life preserver knowing it's right there and that we're still secure. And that security and that safety helps us to not go back into old habits, just because it's that the restrictive mindset that sends us back again and again and again. So I love that you're focusing on that. And actually, when I tell people all the time in the course, I'm like, you know um if you're willing to let it come to you, it will happen. And every time I say it, I think so beautifully about Anna and your example of how you didn't, you said, I'm not going to, right? I'm not going to take this life preserver away. And slowly over time, you did not need it. And now you're swimming in the ocean so beautifully. And, it's such a great testament to um, committed work. So it's very, very exciting. And I appreciate that you mentioned that, because I know a lot of people, inevitably we get started on that Monday morning and everybody comes and two or three people will raise their hand and be like, I've been eating nonstop this last week, anticipating what you're going to take away from me. And I think, we're not taking anything away. You're gonna eventually, you're gonna tell me I haven't even thought about, the cookies that were in my pantry for the last month, whereas before, a box might last a night or two, and now I've had cookies I had to throw them away, because they've gone bad. Yeah, Anna, does that resonate?
Yes, it does. I just wanted to add one other factor. So
Yeah.
I shared about the program, but the other really, really big jewel for me is really having the opportunity to work with Lori specifically as a facilitator. And I just felt so held when I could not love myself and I despised myself and I hated the whole process that I was in and that I had gotten myself into. I felt that the weekly meetings that we had, each time that we met, there was a space where I just felt so like I looked forward to it because it was a space where I could come and kind of be held energetically, like emotionally. Although I was the responsibility was mine to do the work and
Mhm.
to show up for myself, but there was a very loving holding of the space. And what I loved a lot that was really helpful to me in my growth in the program is that Lori really, she just listened to all of us. She really was present all the time, very present, really listened to us, and she really understood. And she has explained since then that it's become comes her understanding comes from her own experience, that allows her to be empathetic because she knows what we're going through. But as a facilitator, she's very intelligent, she's very intuitive, she's very organized, but she's just has a beautiful disposition and personality and temperament that really is so healing in and of itself. So thank you, Lori.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. What a beautiful What a beautiful thing. This makes me feel, that's exactly how I feel I want to be with you guys, right? And it is very natural because I see the greatness in you. I see you with all the clay off, right? Your golden self, that true self, and so it's absolutely just such a joy to help you see it too. And you also mentioned. Uh, the ability to do that really does come from the life experience, right? I always tease that there's not anything that anyone could tell me that they've done with food that I haven't myself. There isn't any way that they've felt about themselves that I haven't felt about myself. And so I am so pleased that I do have that background, because I don't think that I could, provide the same level of support without having that. So even though while I was going through it, I wouldn't have said, "Oh, this is so great. Someday I'll be able to use this," right? But now looking back, I can say, yeah, I'm really glad that I did have those experiences, because when, Tammy or Brenda or somebody else is sharing that, I'm like, oh, yeah. So let me tell you about a day I had that was just like that. Here's how we can, start to work with that. So thank you for bringing that up, and thank you for those beautiful words. It makes me feel so happy that you know that I get to do this every day. It's certainly such an honor for me. So, as we wrap up tonight, I just really want to encourage all of you to really think about this. Don't do what I did, which is, make your excuses of all the reasons why you can't. I have had so many people tell me, and there's actually, if you do go to the information page, there's some testimonies there of people who have been in your shoes, been in the place of feeling like, oh, this, nothing's going to work for me. I'm too far broken, or I've been doing this too long, or I'm too old, or all of those silly excuses. And if you walk away from this with either questions, like, questions about the kind of the housekeeping kinds of things, let's talk about them. But if you have questions about, do you really think could work for me? Again, let's set aside a time so that we can talk about it, and you can make a decision from a place of true knowledge and hope, right? Yeah. So, okay. Well, I will look forward to receiving your additional questions, to seeing some of you on the calendar, and welcoming some of you into the next round of freedom. Thank you. Anna, it's so good to be with you. Have a beautiful
Thank,
night.
thank you. It was a pleasure.
Bye bye.